And then you say, okay, God, you know what? I'm down with this. I'm with you on this forgiveness thing. I'm going to go ahead and forgive them because I know that you know what they did to me. And come Judgment Day, they're going to pay for it. I just know it. And what does God say about it? Jesus say about that? He says, no. He says, I cast it in the sea of forgetfulness to be remembered no more. I cast it as far as the east is from the west. It's gone. It needs to be gone in your heart and your mind as well. God does it for the right reason and for the right way. Philip Yancey, in his book, What's So Amazing About Grace, says, at last I understood, in the final analysis, forgiveness is an act of faith. By forgiving another, I am trusting that God is a better justice maker than I am. I release my own right to get even and leave all issues of fairness for God to work out. I leave it in God's hands. The scales must balance in justice and mercy. And no one can balance that better than you. And I couldn't agree more. But the question remains, do we forgive for the right reasons? I mean, we just said, if you don't forgive, you're not going to be forgiven. Is that absolutely the right reason to forgive? It's not necessarily the right motive. Motive is critical. You know, there was this man, this elderly man, he's walking along the beach, and he found this lamp. And he picked it up and he wiped the sand off of it, he rubbed the lamp, poof, this genie pops out. And the genie says, thank you for releasing me. Because you have these, I'm going to grant you one wish. He says, what's the wish? And he says, you know, my brother and I had a fight 30 years ago, and he hasn't spoken to me since. And I really, really wish that he would forgive me. And boom, there's a clap of thunder. And the genie says, your wish has been granted. And the genie says, but I do have to ask. He says, most people ask for a wish for great wealth or something like that. He says, but yet you ask for forgiveness from your brother. Is it because you're getting old and maybe you're sick and you want to reconcile? And he says, heavens no. He says, my brother's old, getting sick, and he's worth $60 million. Motives are everything. Maybe that's not genuine, huh? Then, of course, sometimes we say we forgive someone because we want to make them feel bad. I know what you did to me. You know, it still hurts. I forgive you. And guilt and fear is not a good motivator either. We forgive someone, or they forgive us because they think, if I don't, something bad's going to happen to me. Not necessarily by God, but by them. There's another funny story I read about a woman who had a parrot. And this parrot was always insulting her, really a nasty parrot. Every time she'd pick it up and peck at her arm, you know, she's, I've had it with this parrot. So she takes the parrot, she puts it in the freezer. And as she closes the door, that parrot's still just yelling these insults at her. And 5 seconds later, dead silence. She goes, oh no, I killed it. And she opens the door and the parrot comes out. And the parrot says, I just want to tell you, I'm very sorry for the way that I've treated you, and the things I've said to you. Just please forgive me. She said, well, yeah, I'll forgive you. The parrot says, can I ask you a question now? She says, yeah. The parrot looks at the freezer and he says, what'd the chicken do? Fear is not the best motive either for forgiveness. It has to be genuine. And if your motive is revenge, remember this, there's no revenge so complete as forgiveness. It drives the other person absolutely crazy when it's genuine. Now, it's tough to sort it all out, guys. I gotta wipe my eyes again here, sorry. It's certainly not easy to forgive, but God in His grace gives you the power to do it. If we turn over control, He will be in charge and He'll give us the power to do it. And when we reach the point of accepting the concept of forgiveness as a gift to be given freely, we have to ask ourselves a final question. How do I know if I've forgiven them completely? I've tried some people. I'm going to be honest with you. I've had people where I felt like I forgave them, and I see them again, and I just see it. And I try again, and I see him again, and I see him. And I realize I have not forgiven. And I say, God, how do I know? And Jesus gives us some great insight into this. When he's at the home, he's invited to dinner at the home of the Pharisee Simon. He's reclining at the table, and a woman who is a prostitute comes in. She's carrying an alabaster jar of perfume. She comes up to Jesus, and her tears fall on his feet because she feels so repentant for the life she's lived. And she washes his feet, and she puts this expensive perfume on his feet. You all know the story. And Simon all the while is thinking, if he knew the life, if he was a prophet, he would know the life that woman lives, and he would not have her doing that to him. And Jesus, of course, knew what Simon was thinking. And he says, Simon, I have a question for you. He says, 2 men are debtors. One owes 500 denarii, and the other owes 50. He says, if both men's debts are forgiven, which one do you think will love the person forgiving them the most? And Simon says, well, I suppose the one that had the most to pay. Jesus says, you've judged correctly. Guys, there it is. If you truly forgive with the right heart, and the right motive, you're going to see a change. And love is going to be the gauge. The one who's forgiven the greatest loves the most. And if you honestly don't feel that appreciation for the liberation of forgiveness, or that appreciation for the person that forgave you, or that appreciation for the opportunity to forgive others and not carry that burden, and I challenge you and I say, have you really forgiven? The one who's forgiven the greatest loves the most. I'm going to conclude here, but many happy and successful people owe the secret of success to forgiveness. It's a secret that's hidden in plain sight. Andy Andrews says, it costs nothing and it's worth millions. It's available to everyone and used by so few. And it's my prayer today that you'll take it and you'll use it. And you'll begin each new day with a forgiving spirit. You'll begin each new day with a forgiving spirit. Say that with me. I will begin each new day with a forgiving spirit. One more time. I will begin each new day with a forgiving spirit.
Amen.
That way we can move forward in our lives and fulfill the purpose and the plans that God has for us. Because He says, I've come to give you life and to give it more abundantly. God looks at us and says, because I love you and I have plans for you, Jim, and I have plans for you, Mark, and Bob, and Tony, and Rick, and Beth, and it goes on and on. He has plans for every one of us. And He knows that if we're encumbered by this guilt that we feel due to unforgiveness, we can't be all that we can be for Him. And that's His goal. The key to everything our future holds and the things that brings our dreams into reality and God's plan into action for us is the simple act of forgiveness. But I know sometimes it's not so simple. So in conclusion, know this. Forgiveness has value only when it's freely given away.